Like, share, subscribe to Live for Love TV.
Make sure you like, share and subscribe to Live for Love TV.
Welcome back to Live for Love TV. Today is the 16th day of the 7th month, the 23rd year inside the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing extremely well out there. Well, as they say, the king is dead. Long live the king. For those of you who've watched this channel know I talk about tennis quite a bit when it comes to Mr. Djokovic. I'm referring to the Wimbledon champion who has just been, the ex-Wimbledon champion I should say, has just been dethroned by the young Wimbledon champion, 20-year-old Carlos Alcaraz, I believe, Carlos Alcaraz. Now, this is very important because I was talking to a young man, and I'm not going to embarrass him by saying who it was, but I was talking to a young man, and he's saying that I was flip-flopping because I was singing the praises of this young man who just beat Djokovic, and I'm always singing the praises of Djokovic. But I think he's misunderstanding. I'm singing the praises of mental toughness, mental champion's mindset. So I'm not flip-flopping. Still love Djokovic, still love what he's done. But for him to be defeated on his favourite surface in front of his probably passionate crowd by a young 20-year-old, it's really a changing of the guard. And I had said to that very young man that if Djokovic loses to this young man in Wimbledon, I think it would be time for him to retire and to try to retire at the top. That's just me saying. I'm just a regular person who's not going to listen to someone like me. But it had to happen. And I've been complaining for the last few years of why these young men are not able to defeat Djokovic and the Nadals and the Federers and put them to the sword the way they did to the people prior to them. You know, there were people around when Federer came at 18, 19, 20, Nadal 18, 19, 20, Djokovic 18, 19, 21, 22. They came and put all of the old boys to the sword, and they had to retire and go into the wilderness. This is what sport's all about. We want the new people to come through, and we want them to be of a greater level to keep the sport at a height. If they can't beat these guys, and these guys go on longer and longer and longer, then what's going to happen to the sport? The sport will die a death, and we'll have to be talking about the golden era back then all the time. And just like in football, we have to talk about back then because the new guys are fitter and stronger, but they're no more skillful than what we grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So I'm really happy that this 20-year-old, he's won 2 Grand Slams now, 1 official Grand Slam as far as I'm concerned, because the one he won in America last year, Djokovic was banned from America, so he really didn't test himself against the best player in the world. But this time he has. He's tested himself against the greatest player, probably of all time, on his favourite surface, in front of the crowd, the home crowd. And he lost the first set 6-1, which you would have thought demoralised anybody else. But this young man has done what I said a champion should do. He's regrouped, he's got his mental state back together. He hasn't looked over the other side of the net and said, oh, there's the greatest player over there, he deserves to beat me. He said, no, there's something in me that needs to win. And he kept going, took the next one to the tie break, and then was 2-1 up. And then, we all know the rest, Djokovic came back and he ended up finishing Djokovic. I didn't actually get to see the game. I was listening to it on the radio, so to speak, or in the scores, and it was very amazing back and forth. And when you saw the great Djokovic, the talk about him breaking his racket when he lost his serve, you know, a bit uncalled for, I'd say, yes, but it shows you the kind of pressure at this level, that it seems that this young man had taken Djokovic to a level at this stage of his career he could not live with. And that's why he lost. He didn't lose because he lost his serve because it was just a bad serve, or because he played one bad shot. He lost because the other guy was that good, clearly that good. And it looks like this guy is going to go on and win many more tournaments if he stays fit. I think it's a possibility he could make Wimbledon what Nadal, you know, his Roland Garros like Nadal did, and win year after year after year after year on that surface. It's a very big possibility he could do that, and he could even take Djokovic's number, and whoever's won the most in Wimbledon, he could probably take them as well, because he's that good. He is that good. I've been you know, forewarned about him by this young man and other people. Another brother told me about him, and I hadn't seen him, But they were telling me a few years ago, this guy is the real deal. And I did eventually get to see him, and I could see he was the real deal. But people were thinking that because he hasn't won this and he hasn't won that and he hasn't won this. But these things take time. It's the mental changeover to be a champion in your mind you have to make. Because I've always, as I said on Live for Love TV, I truly believe champions are won before they get onto the court, before they get onto the basketball court, the tennis court, the football pitch. That's where the champions are won. They're won up here. Once it's won up here, it's very hard for you to lose anywhere else. And that young man had won before today up here. And he just wanted to express that, and he did. And Djokovic has done that many, many times before, so he should have been a bit more graceful in his loss, not breaking rackets and stuff like that, and know that this is what happens when you get put to the sword. When you put people to the sword, one day someone's going to put you to the sword. That's just the way, that's the law of the land. It's meant to be like that. It's exactly how it's meant. You can't be putting people to the sword forever. I don't care if you're a boxer, a footballer, any sports person. You put people to the sword, eventually someone's going to, unless you bow out gracefully before that time comes, someone's going to put you to the sword. Today, Djokovic was put to the sword, and I'm happy about it because tennis lives on. Djokovic is still the GOAT at the moment. Tennis lives on, tennis goes from strength to strength. This young man, hopefully he'll win many, many more, and we'll get to see great games in tennis. We won't have this lull period of 5-10 years where we have to say, oh God, what happened to the old guys? These new guys are no good. This guy has done what we've seen. We saw Federer do this to, I'm trying to remember, Sampras at Wimbledon. Lost one year, then came back and won the next year. And when he beat Sampras, we knew that was a changing of the guard. So we must know that this is also a change of the guard. Respect, love, and manners. Live for Love TV.
Beat